And this was the manner in which she dealt with the refugee crisis, with a deep sense of responsibility on the future of Europe and on stability. And for these two important reasons, I do expect that she will be convinced that these two necessary steps must be made. Two steps that will not be a burden to German taxpayers, so that Greece can become not a member or a part of the problem, but a part of the solution for security, for growth, and for solving the refugee issue, for which Greece plays an important role. And that is why I'm optimistic, and I expect my optimism to be realized. Mr. Ignatiu from Ethnos, question number 3.
It means a lot for us, for you to be here. My name is Michael Ignatiu. I'm the correspondent in Washington for Ethnos newspaper and Mega TV. You said many times, Mr. President, that the way the Europeans handled the economic crisis had the opposite effect. And also, you talk many times against the austerity. And of course, you are right. Why, in your opinion, you didn't succeed to convince the Europeans to follow your way? And what are you going to do the last 2 months to help Greece and the Greek people? Also, I have a short question about Cyprus. Both of you talk about Cyprus. And it's a dear issue for me because I born in Cyprus. How can you convince the President of Turkey to end the occupation of Cyprus, Mr. President?
Well, let me take the second question first. This is ultimately a negotiation between Cypriots, Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots. And the good news is that you have two leaders who seem genuinely committed to finding compromises and an approach that would serve both their peoples well. If, in fact, you can see a meeting of the minds between them, then the issue will be, can we make sure that all of us, the international community, Turkey, Greece, the United States, support that agreement in a way that can be ratified by both sides. And we've invested a lot of time. Vice President Biden's been actively involved in this. We are encouraged by the progress that's been made. I think there's a window in the next few weeks, months, where this issue was actually resolved. And I think if we can find an equitable solution, it won't provide 100% of what either side wants. There may be some mechanisms for a transition from status quo to the future that both sides envision. But I think it's achievable, and we're going to do everything we can to support the process. With respect to the economy and Europe, again, I think it's important to recognize that in some ways my job was simpler because at least in the first 2 years I had majorities of my party controlling Congress, and I'm just one country. So Congress is hard to deal with. Dealing with multiple parliaments and commissions and unions and this and that and the other, and that's very complicated. And so the need, I think, to operate by consensus, the fact that not all European countries were similarly situated, even though their economy shared a currency, that made their task more difficult. So I want to make sure that I'm clear that I don't envy the hard job that each European leader had in circumstances that oftentimes they had inherited. What I've tried to do is just offer our best thinking, whether it's in resolving problems in banks quickly, because the quicker you resolve the problems with banks and there's transparency in that process, the faster they recapitalize and are able to make investments. When the economy is shrinking, providing jobs, spending on things like infrastructure can actually increase revenue and drive down debt. And then there's going to be a time at which point debt has to be taken care of. I mean, for example, in the United States, our deficits went up in those first 2 years because we're engaging in a lot of emergency spending. Our deficits have now been reduced by 2/3, primarily because we started growing again and we started taking in more tax revenue. So there's some lessons, I think, that are applicable for all countries. And what we've just tried to do is offer the best advice that we can, understanding that when you're dealing with multiple nations, but a single currency, and then a European Union where some people are in the currency and some people are not in the currency, and a European Parliament and European Council, that's a lot of meetings. Okay.
I will fully agree with what President Obama has just said in answering the question about Cyprus. It is not a bilateral issue. It is not a problem between Greece and Turkey. It's an international problem which has been going on for 42 years, as long as I'm alive. And it is a problem of illegal invasion and occupation of the northern part of Cyprus. We make our best. We do our best to encourage both sides to help them reach a fair and equitable and sustainable solution. In my first visit to Cyprus as a prime minister, I tried and I did meet over and above the leaders of the Republic of Cyprus, a number of representatives of the Turkish Cypriot community, and I think that that was the first time that a Greek Prime Minister was meeting with them. We are interested in making sure that the people of Cyprus will be able to live in a reunited Cyprus where they are free, where there's a democracy, freedom, and Cyprus is a member of the European Union. So I would like to make it clear that as regards Greece, we are in favor of a solution. We stand by the side of President Anastasiadis, who is making the effort, and we are only ready to discuss with Turkey the part which is relevant to us. That is the guarantees, because since 1959, since 1960, this obsolete issue of guarantees also concerns Greece. But Greece is not the country which has occupied and illegally invaded and illegally occupied Cyprus. So I believe that a fair and sustainable solution means a solution without the permanent presence of Turkish troops on the island. And at the same time, I think that the best guarantee for the Cypriot people to feel safe is the potential of a fair and sustainable solution. And if this happens, things will change not only for Cyprus, but for the wider region in general and for Greek-Turkish relations. This is how we are proceeding. I believe that, yes, President Erdogan plays an important role, but it is not my responsibility to convince him, Mr. Ignatiu.
The final question will come from Chris Jansen with NBC News.
Thank you.
Mr. President, ever since the election, there have been protests on the streets of the United States. And earlier this year, Matt Lauer asked you if you believed you helped create the environment for Donald Trump to run. And you answered, talk to me if he wins about how responsible I feel about it. I wonder, do you feel any responsibility for the election of Donald Trump? And in the broader context, when you see his election, when you look at politicians like Theresa May, Marie Le Pen, do you believe that it is either a movement away from or an outright rejection of your worldview? And Mr. Prime Minister, you've also talked about your concerns about the rise of the extreme right in general, and about Donald Trump in particular. You said, I hope we will not face this evil. Do you believe Donald Trump or his ideas are still evil? And if so, do you believe